Good afternoon, y'all.
Welcome to another edition of the Battery Podcast. Today we're going to be going over something we haven't gone over. I don't think we've ever gone over this before. Guns.
I like guns.
Lots and lots of guns. Or I should say guns. Lots of guns. There's a specific reason why I want to go over guns. Is because I recently purchased an AR-15, my very first one. It's a Smith & Wesson 5.56 Sport 2. It's a beautiful weapon. I got to see it the other day. I'm still in the middle of the waiting period, but it's pretty much...
You actually got to see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Like in person?
Yeah.
No shit, okay.
Yep. Yeah, they pulled it out, and purchased it at Rifle Gear over in Fountain Valley. For those... I'm not plugging them or anything like that. Because I've purchased weapons from them before. I've purchased a rifle from a Mossberg 22 from them a couple years back, and their service is outstanding. They're one of the best in Orange County, in my opinion. So I'm not plugging them. I'm literally, honestly, just being sincere and saying they're great. They're great brokers, and yeah.
I'm being sincere when I say this too. Don't come breaking into our house.
Please don't. do yourself. Yeah, please don't come breaking into our house. Exactly. That's just not a very good idea. Now, we are situated in the middle of Orange County in California, Southern California. Now, guns are in our part of town are looked at in a very in a very polarized way. No, you don't really talk about guns around here. I don't get to talk about guns to many people that I know around where we live locally. Because,
around here, most people think guns are bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Or there's no way a gun can be good.
Exactly, because again, they're not around guns unless it's held by a police officer. It's to them, to most of the people around here that where we live in. Any civilian who owns a gun should they're looked at as almost a pariah
or a threat.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a very normal concept for civilians to be owning a weapon for the mass majority of the people that live around us or around here in California, and it was
which is crazy because like 100 years ago. Everybody
owned a weapon, yeah, and
the other wasn't looked at as weird.
Exactly, it was not stigmatized, and it's funny because I've been all over this country. I've traveled all the way to New York and back. Yeah, pretty much, and it's funny because I've been to places where people having guns is just as normal as them drinking tea in their front porch, and. For me, I fully understand it, but I think the issue is that we live in such a bubble here in Orange County and in Southern California. We live in such a bubble where
most people haven't traveled.
Exactly. Either most people haven't traveled, or if they have traveled, they haven't really immersed themselves in other cultures and don't truly fully understand other cultures unless they're of a non-white ethnicity, I guess you could say, because I'm trying to avoid getting political here. I understand some people are gonna have certain beliefs and certain values, and I respect them. That's fine, just as much as we have our own belief systems and our own values. Ours, I'd like to think, are a bit more clear and concise than most of the average people. I don't think most of the people around here in Orange County don't truly understand their own values. I don't think they really have clear, concise values. They just kind of exist around here. They don't really think about that as much as us. Going back to
the type of people that live for the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what
we've gotten into that before.
Yeah, people that live for the weekend. Exactly. Anyway, so I recently purchased a Smith & Wesson AR, and I recently learned a couple of new things because I'm not I'm not a gun expert. I'm a gun owner. I've been a responsible gun owner for the last 3 years. So I'm familiar with guns. I'm familiar with weapons. I know how to handle them, but I'm not by any means an expert. I'm definitely not some gun toting cowboy of any sort. I just know my way, but I do know my way around certain guns, and
just like you should know how to
just
change
how
your oil,
just like
how to change a tire,
how to change a tire. Like that's the way I see guns. It's like I just like a car.
It's a tool.
It's a tool, exactly. I know how to do basic car maintenance. Like exactly, like oil, changing tires. Spark plugs, all the basic stuff, and that's the same way that's the extent of my knowledge with weapons as well. With guns, it's very basic, and I recently found out that particularly with the AR, the stock here in California has to be specialized. So basically, what I just found out is I was gonna purchase the Ruger 5.56 with the Hera stock. Now the difference is the Hera stock, you could clearly see the difference. With the Hera stock, you don't get an adjustable. It's not adjustable, and it doesn't have a pistol grip. And so I thought to myself, well, that's lame.
The Hera stock is the one that looks all weird, right?
Yeah,
it looks like
the Hera stock looks like
one solid piece.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
The stock.
Exactly. It looks like almost like a submachine gun.
Look it up, and it looks disgusting.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I actually kind of like the way it looks.
I don't.
I like it
because I know it just. Or fuck
it. I mean,
provides a function.
It depends. It depends.
That's a bullshit.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into
that.
Yeah. So I bought a California legal rifle, and the one it was either going to be settle. I was either going to settle for the Ruger 5.56 with the Hera stock, but then I found out recently the Rifle Gear recently put the Smith & Wesson 5.56 Sport 2 up for sale. Now normally this thing normally goes for around $600 to $700 depending on where you go, and they had maybe you might be able to find for those guys who are really immersed in the gun world. You probably you probably do a lot more extensive research and probably can find this gun for maybe $400 or $500. Then yeah, but I got it for $560, which I think is a base price, a regular price for. The thing is, Smith & Wesson is known for being very, a very high end, more on
pretty quality.
Yeah, exactly, more on the high end. But this particular model is more the affordable model that I got, especially because I live in California and it's modified to be California legal. And I got it because the stock was like any normal stock for an AR. It had the pistol grip and it was very adjustable. And so thought to myself, well, if this is California legal, I might as well just get this one and pay the same amount and plus it's again Smith & Wesson. From what I've known, I've done, I own a Mossberg. I know Mossberg does pretty well. I know Ruger does pretty well, but I know that Smith & Wesson, they're more on the higher end. When I actually went over to the other day to fill out my paperwork, and I asked him like, why is it that my stock on my rifle is still different than the Hera stock? I can see why the Hera stock is the California legal, because again, it's not adjustable and it doesn't have a pistol grip. And then he explained to me is because he took it apart and he said, this is how you basically release the mag. You have to remove a certain pin, unfold it, and then pull the mag release to release the mag.
So it takes longer.
It takes a lot longer. It's not like you just release the mag like John Wick. And so that it was either that or have the Hera stock and not have the pistol grip and not have adjustable stock, but the mag release is relatively simple. You just release the mag. So California, now I understand why California gives you those two options. Complete horseshit, of course, in my opinion. Absolute
bullshit
horseshit.
Ass options.
And so I thought, okay, finally I get it. So it comes down to either whether you want to use it for tactical purposes or have an easy mag release. I went for the pistol grip. I went for the regular stock. With practice, I'm sure I can start actually figuring out how to do a solid mag release in the shortest amount of time. I'm hoping nobody comes in and breaks into my house. We just told you before, please don't do that. That's a very good idea not to do that.
You got 10 shots.
Yeah, we have 10 shots, but I think
Well, with that one. With the other one, we got what?
10 shots as well.
10.
Yeah. But my other rifle is easy. It's not an AR, so it doesn't have to be registered and doesn't have to be adjusted.
So it's a release.
Exactly. My other rifle. It's a Mossberg, and it's a simple LR. All it is a receiver and
point and shoot.
Point and shoot. Exactly. The only thing is, and you know what? In all honesty, for self-defense, I would probably use the Mossberg over the AR, mainly because I don't want to kill anybody. I'd rather not have... Here's what I'll say. I would rather go my entire life not having to shoot somebody and not have to incapacitate somebody and not have to kill somebody. I really... let's make it abundantly clear in this very moment. I, Jesus Sotelo, do not want to kill anybody. I'd rather not. Again, 100% for home defense, and let's be real too. We don't live in like the pristine area of. Even though it is Orange County, there are some areas in Orange County that are not as pristine as others. We live in the middle of Garden Grove, and yeah.
I'd say if we stayed in Costa Mesa, it would make more sense.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still don't care. It's still alright.
Exactly. Well, anyway, of course, and the other thing is, there's this great quote. Do you have your phone with you?
Yeah.
There's this quote by this former. He was a essayist. Basically, and let me see if I could find it.
What's it about? Yo, we can't keep them silent.
Well, okay, so basically, he said, I'm paraphrasing here in this quote, but basically it says, in a world where there is no freedom, you have to become so free that your mere existence is offensive to those who basically hate your freedom. So just being should be an offense to those who want to, strip or regulate your freedom. I hate getting political, but at the same time, I can't. Let's make it abundantly clear for the first time here, first time ever. I absolutely have a deep, seething hatred for the federal government. Yeah, I said it. I said it out loud. I have a very deep. There are very few things in this world that I hate. I love things more than I hate things. I don't really hate that many things. There are a few things I hate. I can list all the things that I love, but that'll take up an entire podcast. The things I hate are mosquitoes, communism, and the federal government. I just absolutely, especially here in California, where it's incredibly liberal, and oddly enough, liberals are no longer fighting for actual rights. They embrace collectivism over individual rights. And that just never ends well. It just never ends well, historically speaking. When you place the well-being, you place higher value on collectivism over individualism, things go awry.
The wrong things start mattering more.
Exactly. But anyway, let's not get into that too much. I purchased these weapons not just for home defense, but basically just as an affront to the consensus, especially here where we live in Southern California, where we are looked at as sort of the enemies of the state. So we're technically behind enemy lines. By our logic,
Yeah.
By our logic, we're technically behind enemy lines. And anyway, the regulations that we have here, the gun regulations here in California, are just outrageous. They're outrageous, and they don't serve to actually protect anybody at all. Now, you can get into conspiracies as to why maybe the government really is trying to take your rights, or if they are earnestly trying to protect people. My point of view, I just don't. I don't know if the government is malicious, historically speaking, when too much power is placed on any federal government or any centralized form of power. It never goes well. It usually tends to have malicious intent. But for the sake of the argument, let's just say the government is, for the most part, just incompetent. That's a bit more of a pragmatic look at the government.
I say that's a stretch.
That's a bit of a stretch. Yeah, I mean, you can say that, of course, But let's just for just to kind of extend an olive branch to just about anybody out there. Let's just say for the sake of the argument that the government is not malicious and they are just incredibly competent. That's the issue. The government is incredibly incompetent.
Very true.
So that's one problem. So again, you could believe whether or not the government is malicious or not. That I'll place that on you. Everybody has the right to believe what they want. But one thing I think everybody can really agree on. Everybody can agree the government is incredibly incompetent in everything, about everything, period. And that goes for everything they've put out, all the information they've given out to the general population, whether it's health, diet, well-being, mental and physical, all that stuff. Everything the government has told you is good turns out is not so good for you. Turns out the food pyramid is a lie.
Very true.
So not a lie, but yeah, it's either a lie or it's a product of sheer incompetence. Now, the same thing is said about the government and its regulation of gun ownership. They are just incredibly incompetent. They leave the well-being to incredibly untrained individuals to basically make laws that don't help anybody, whether it's a victim or anybody else. It doesn't really help anybody. So the government is again very incompetent. A majority of people in Congress don't truly understand how to operate a regular long rifle, let alone an AR.
I've seen many videos where people mistake assault rifles and automatic rifles versus semi-automatic rifles.
Exactly.
Like, people don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
A majority of people.
At least the people in Congress trying to take away our rights, those people usually have close to no knowledge on the actual weapon or the facts.
Exactly. Or how, and of course,
so it leads to incompetent.
Exactly.
But yeah, okay.
No, it does lead to incompetence, and so look, again, I am not a fan of gun control. Here's my my olive branch to those who are pro gun control, who want to have a lot of gun control. My olive branch is, I fully agree that fully automatic weapons should not be available to average citizens, and that includes myself. I don't want to own a fully automatic weapon because I probably would get hurt without the proper training.
I mean, those people that own it usually have to have.
Yeah, they have to have a
military,
a certain amount of training, or military background. And I fully agree. Yeah. And that's a reasonable thing to think.
And it's done.
And it is done. That's the thing. It's already illegal to own and operate a fully automatic weapon. But if you're gonna stand there on your high horse and say that semi-automatic weapons should not be held by average citizens, well then you're the enemy of the people. I'm gonna call you the enemy of the people, whether through, again, sheer incompetence or because you're malicious. It doesn't matter. It's either way. It's never a good idea. Okay. It's unconstitutional, of course. That's another thing. We could get into that as well, but that's a whole nother subject all on its own. But it is unconstitutional. I think people should just really educate themselves and honestly just learn how a certain weapon operates, because the media portrays, for example, an AR as this ultimate death machine destruction, of destruction, and all because it looks like a tactical weapon, just based on the look. But in my hands, I would say I would say this: I'm much more efficient at killing people. I would be much more efficient using my Ruger, my simple, straightforward Ruger Mossberg. It's a Mossberg. Oh, right. My Mossberg 22. I would be much more efficient hurting others with my Mossberg than I would with my current AR because of the ridiculous gun laws that we have around here. That gun is, the caliber is much smaller. It's a 22 LR. The caliber on the AR it's a 5.56. So those are much bigger shells.
Drastically different.
Yes, and even then, I would still use my Mossberg for home defense much more than the AR. I bought the AR for sheer pleasure, mainly for sheer pleasure. But when it comes to a home defense situation, chances are I'm going to pull out my Mossberg first. Because the other thing too is, again, like I stated before, I really don't want to kill or hurt anybody. And at least with the Mossberg, because it's such a low caliber, there's less of a chance of me actually killing someone, and more of a chance of
definitely just disables.
Exactly. It just I would most likely incapacitate the person, in which case I could just call the police and then let them handle the rest of the situation without having to fully take a life. Again, I would rather go my entire life not having to take a life. That's just me. But that's also because I am a healthy individual who's not a psychopath. I've never had a history of psychopathy of any sort. So there's that. I also have been a gun owner for more than 2 years now, and I never had to take my gun out. Thank God. I've never had to, and I never want to. I actually don't want to. The only time I've taken it out was when we've gone out to practice shooting. And that's it, just for fun. But never to have to, I don't ever pull it out and say, yeah, that's right, I own a gun, what are you going to do?
You're not Homer Simpson turning on the TV with it.
Exactly. Not Homer Simpson turning on my TV with it.
Shout out to The Simpsons.
Again, I'd like to think I'm a very reasonable individual. I'd like to think I'm a mentally healthy individual. Again, I've never had an issue with psychopathy, and there's tests for that. Do I want the wrong people owning a gun? No, absolutely not. I think there should be a happy medium. I think, background checks, I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all.
What's going on right now takes care of most of the problems. It's that most people are getting lied to, saying that they're getting their guns illegally somehow when the gun is clearly illegal at some points. Most of the major shootings have been illegal owners of guns.
Exactly.
Or those guns, they shouldn't have had it. What was the law going to do about it? They still got it.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and then, of course, there's the people who have committed atrocities with fully automatic weapons that also were modified illegally, might I add. These were already illegally modified weapons to begin with. So those statistics should be thrown out the window because those were already illegal weapons to begin with, i.e. the Las Vegas shooter. You see what I mean? That guy was using illegal firearms already modified. So what else could have been done to prevent this? Everything that could have been done was done to prevent this. And even then,
better security, but Captain Hindsight,
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and so, yeah, again, I'm not against background checks. I myself am 100% for background checks. I'm in the middle of a background check right now. I had to get a background check for when I purchased my first rifle. This is so, and I'll happily do it again. I don't have.
So it's every time you buy a rifle, background check?
I'm not too sure because the other thing was I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure it is. This is the second rifle I've purchased, and
actually that makes sense because if something happens
between that time, I'm pretty sure it is every single time. The other thing is because I lost my license, and so they had to make me another copy.
He means he misplaced it.
I misplaced it.
He got it.
I cleaned my room and they misplaced it. But because I went to the place where I initially got my license in the first place. all they had to do was just look into their system, and they found it immediately. And so I have a copy now. They gave me.
Mine's cooler than yours.
No, they laminated mine.
Mine's cooler than yours. Because mine was first.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so so now I have my my newly updated gun license, which is it's nice to have now, so I can just go to another shop that's not Rifle Gear, which I'm probably gonna hit up OC Firearms and
There's
see.
Ammo Bros as well.
I looked up Ammo Bros.
No, I haven't looked them up.
I looked them up. They have a decent selection, but I think OC Firearms has more of a versatile selection.
Remember Grants for Guns?
I do remember Grants for Guns. We right on on Newport and 18th Street.
I think so.
Yeah, it's no longer there, unfortunately. But yeah, so yes, for this if this shocks you, yes, we are gun owners. We are healthy, mentally healthy, and highly responsible gun owners. So, I don't know, if you'd like to take my word for it, of course, I very much encourage you guys to do your own research. Don't just take my word for it. I'm not saying I am right and everyone else is wrong, and my word is the end-all, be-all. I'd like to think I was a pretty reasonable person in this case.
I think if you have the opinion that it's too easy to get a gun, I would say go out and get one.
Yeah, exactly. Go out and
not just to like prove or like just to belittle you. I'm just saying go out, go through the process and figure out for yourself. Was that too easy, or do they actually look at my background? Have I done anything? Do I have the right to own a rifle or a firearm? Go through the process yourself, figure it out for yourself, and then make a logical conclusion. Don't just say because everybody else or those people that got guns, those people are bad. Don't just be of that opinion where every gun owner is way too easy to get a gun.
Yeah, and then of course there's the statistics. The statistics that are thrown out by the mainstream media, that are incredibly skewed, almost in all fronts. People don't know this, but that about 70%, 73% of all gun deaths in America are actually from suicide, and not from school shootings or mass shootings or robberies or gun crimes or anything like that. 73%, I believe. 70 to 73%, somewhere around those lines. That's a huge number. And that really, really changes everything. That changes everything. Because now that really showcases that it's not a gun problem. It really is a mental health issue. And of course, there's a subject that we were going to actually go over instead. But we decided to go over guns this time around. But we'll touch on this another time. But medication. Especially medicating, younger folks who are not fully developed, like putting kids on Ritalin, that's gotta be a huge factor. I can't imagine putting kids on Ritalin when their brains are still developing. That has to account for something.
No, definitely.
That has to.
And I mean, the statistics show that a lot of like the school shooters or the unfortunate school shooters, those guys are almost always on a certain drug, or they're not always right in the head. Yeah, they're usually psychotic.
Either that or they show antisocial behavior.
Yeah, they're all a little weird.
Yeah, they were very and I mean we're all weird.
Yeah, or we're all fine. They're all. I don't know. But there's no empathy.
No empathy, and they exhibit a lot of antisocial behavior. They don't integrate really well with others. And the thing is, whether you like it or not, whether you want to think of yourself as this big badass lone wolf guy, people need each other. People need others. And so when you have an antisocial individual who doesn't really integrate well with the majority of their surroundings, then you may have a problem in your hands. That person may have an issue mentally where they can't integrate really well in a big social circle, and we need other people to be mentally well. That's why I do jiu-jitsu. because there's just a group of people that you're not gonna like, and there are other groups of people you can't stand to be away from. So there's that. But yeah, do your own research.
I looked at the statistics. It's out of 36,000 gun deaths by year average. It's 22,274 by suicide.
Wow.
12,830 for homicide. I'm not sure if that includes self-defense though.
Yeah, there you go.
Self-defense, it goes anywhere between 500,000 and 3 million people use their firearms for self-defense reasons. And you know.
Exactly. And then what constitutes self-defense? What constitutes what other factors? Like how do you differentiate between self-defense and manslaughter? You know what I mean? There's that as well. It's just that and I'm not belittling or I'm not downplaying the atrocities that have been committed in schools. Of course, horrible. There's horrible things, and that's something. I think that's the thing is the media wants to portray people who are pro Second Amendment. They want to portray us as
like the devil,
people who want to maliciously kill kids. When it's the nothing could be further from the truth.
If we have someone trained and armed, there. Okay, I'm not gonna put armed security guard at every school, but I'm saying if someone was trained and armed there, just like the Texas shooting. What's his name? The guy he was a pastor.
Yeah, he was a pastor.
Fuck, I forgot his name. Can you look it up? He saved the church. 26 people died, I think. This pastor he went in and grabbed his gun and shot him dead with his AR-15, and it got no media coverage.
Yeah, absolutely no media coverage, and that is a legitimate self-defense, and he saved more lives.
He saved a lot of
people. Of course, unfortunately.
Okay, not only he was a pastor, I think, and he was like a self-defense, he was like a gun teacher kind of thing.
So he was an instructor. Yeah, he was an instructor.
I'm dumb. But yeah, so it was like the media, if they interviewed him, it would have been a complete disaster for them because he was proving all their points wrong. But so we go,
Yeah, his name was Stephen Williford.
Stephen Williford.
Yeah, he was a local resident. He's a former NRA firearms instructor. And he opened fire and shot and killed the perpetrator. Again, this is the world we live in. You need to understand that it's not a nice world, okay? Get out of your bubble and understand that this world is incredibly dangerous. Does that mean that you can't enjoy it and enjoy this life? That's not at all what it means. But it does mean that you need to be very aware and very vigilant. That's something we encourage. We absolutely encourage.
I'm gonna try to get my concealed carry when I get my gun.
I think you can. I think you have a higher chance of getting a concealed carry than myself.
Apparently, it's not the most difficult county to get a concealed carry in. So
which county would be?
Orange County. So apparently it's not that hard compared to other counties. Like
LA.
Probably a little harder in LA.
Yeah. Oddly enough, too, don't you think? It's odd that it's much harder to get a concealed carry weapon license in LA, which is a highly densely populated and diverse area of the nation where it has some of the highest gun violence in all of America, alongside Louisiana, Chicago, and New York. And it's kind of a coincidence that they make it much more difficult to get yourself a concealed carry. In those areas.
Look into it. If you have a higher percentage of people legally carrying firearms, the crime rate's gonna drop.
Yeah.
So when cities
highly densely populated areas,
when giant cities like LA, Chicago, Detroit, all those major crime-ridden cities, unfortunately, those cities all have major gun restrictions or gun laws.
And they have the highest gun. They have the highest gun violence in probably any other area of the nation.
I think I could be wrong, but I think it's Vermont that has the highest concentration of guns and like the lowest crime in the state. So that's like the height the height of the.
It just makes
it makes sense if people are people like in Texas. If people all around you are armed
Do you really?
Do you want to go breaking into everybody's house? Do you want to be more cautious, at least as a criminal? Of course you do.
Yeah.
Or unless you're crazy and don't care about your life, but
yeah,
you're gonna kill yourself anyways.
Anyway, I think this is a very good and honest portrayal, and I'd like to try to think that. I mean, yeah, technically, we were a bit biased. You could say what you will, but I like to think we were a bit analytical in our approach to gun ownership, coming from someone who has owned a gun for at least more than 1 year. I've been a gun owner for multiple years now. So, and again, I'm a healthy, mentally stable individual. I've never ever once woken up and say I'm going to commit a mass atrocity. I'd say 90% of the time I forget I have a gun in the house. I completely forget that it's never even I never wake up and say yeah, I have a gun. I wake up, I stand up, I stretch, I look to my left and I look at Old Glory and I salute Old Glory and I go to the gym. Those are my first thoughts. I don't really think about my gun at all. So just for those of you who are not gun owners who think that we're a group of crazy gun-toting individuals, that's not the case at all. That's not exactly what we think. There might be some people out there that are like that. That's not us. I completely forget about it.
Although I do think it's cool if you have a full arsenal.
Yeah. Guns are fun too. That's another thing. Fun. Guns are fun as well. Especially when you exercise common sense, they can be a lot of fun. That's it.
And that concludes that episode of the Battery Podcast.
Later.
See you guys later.